survive with strong men. So if our society, Western society, is now telling men they can be women, what do you think the future for the society is going to be?
Jesus.
Hasn't every civilization that was like female led crashed?
Yeah.
You
But
know,
sorry, go on.
I was thinking about something like this of recently, and the reason why I was thinking about it is because I saw a school student walking around with a bonnet on his head, and I've seen this quite frequently, like
I
young
was talking
kids
about that with my friend the
wearing
other day,
bonnets,
actually.
young male boys.
What, men?
Yeah, men wearing bonnets on their head just casually, and I thought this is so interesting. I feel like what's gonna happen, maybe not for our generation, but the next generation of young people, kids or whatever. I think the women are actually going to be attracted to feminine men.
I said
Well,
this.
well, you
Okay.
say
Said
that,
this.
and you've got the, of course, you've got the K-pop phenomenon, haven't you?
Yeah,
In-
the androgynous type of man.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely possible. But
Yeah.
is that really what they're viscerally going to desire? I mean, maybe it is. I don't know.
But I think it's already happening.
I have. No, I have. I don't know if it was you that told me this, but I was on an Instagram live a couple months ago, and they were talking about, would you date a guy that had like done stuff with like another guy in the past?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like Naski, nada, never.
Naski.
And or there were a guy that was bi, and they said the younger generation doesn't care, and he's
Right.
like, call your sister.
Mm.
And I was like, no way she'll say yes. Like, no way. So I call her, and I'm like Eva, Amelia, my two youngest sisters, like, would you date a guy that's bi? And they were both like, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how
And
old
I-
are they now?
And I was like, I mean, they're young. Like, my one sister is 19, and my other
okay.
sister,
Would
hold
you
on,
date? Would you
25.
date a guy who's bi?
No.
Why not?
That's why I'm intrigued.
No, that's why, because to me it was like a quick ew, no. And my other sister that's 21, 22. I have 9 siblings, so I forget. But she said no, but there seemed to be a cutoff with like the youngest too.
Because that's the thing, like you were just saying, I've said it on the show a couple of times, like women are now being attracted to feminine men.
Yeah.
Because they're becoming more masculine, the more feminine the guy, because, you know, essentially opposites attract. And like you were saying about the K-pop phenomenon, where men are looking less like men and more like
Harry Styles.
Yeah. Right?
He's cute.
Men are starting to look less like men and more kind of morphing into like man-woman-y type, I don't know, androgynous type men. And so that's what women are becoming attracted to. A lot of women, not all, but a lot of women are becoming attracted to them.
But don't you think in some ways though the sort of the raw masculine archetype still wins through? Because if you look, if you read a lot of the sort of like the online advice that's directed at men, it's all very much. I mean, what does everyone bang on about the whole time? It's all lifting. You know, yeah, man, lift. You know, lift 15 times a day and stuff. And it's all geared towards becoming that apex, that sort of so-called apex alpha type guy. And I think ultimately that still cuts through, because if you take it to a slightly lesser extreme, not necessarily about people who are androgynous, because that's one thing, but what about the sort of man-boobed sort of
chest feeding
millennium sort of dude who's got the sort of hipster beard and carries a tote bag, you know, that kind of guy.
Right.
He's sort of like, he's not feminine as such, but he's also not sort of archetypally massive. You know, the edges have been softened, haven't they? For all these dudes in society. So I think then if you're like an Andrew Tate type character, you know, you kind of cut through all that BS and you sort of still make.
However, I feel like this is one of the first times in history that the weak have governed the strong.
Well, yeah, like the tech overlords,
right? So these guys generally are like the weaklings, but they were intelligent, right?
Yeah.
And normally we lived in a society where alpha men would take over like nations, right, with armies and stuff. But it's no longer that. The revolution and the takeover is now an intellectual one.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, strength doesn't matter in that situation. What matters is how much you can outthink the opponent. And so a lot of the time now in these days and times, the weak are now governing the strong, because, and I say that on another front, where if your feelings get hurt, for instance, we can now cancel you. And we can now make new laws to make our feelings not get hurt. So the weak are now governing the strong. So the strong say things like Andrew Tate, like Kevin Samuels, to to cut through the nonsense, like you said. But if somebody's feelings get hurt, you understand who's really in power.
Well, yeah, and you've just got to look at what happened, obviously, with the Tates. Although, you know, obviously, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
But you know, it's a very interesting example, isn't it, of how everybody just sort of like they just all of his socials just went down like dominoes, didn't they? Within a few
because
days.
of feelings.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
And even when I was at Carnival, like the visceral reaction I got from women, like interviewing them when I said, "What do you think of Andrew Tate?" and they're immediately like, "Da da da da," and I'm like, "What does he say that's that bad?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, men don't like old women. Like, who cares?
I don't think it's anything he says that is bad. It's kind of like with Kevin Samuels, how he before I first watched his videos, I'd be like, "Oh, Kevin, blah blah blah, he's saying bad things about black women, blah blah blah." But when I watched it, I was like, he's actually telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to women
You're such a
and
pick me, Jess. Sorry, go. Sorry.